Now, as I said on my social media platforms, this is going to be a very interesting social study in blind brand loyalty, because with a Toyota badge, it is going to sell. It is great to have Howard Dembovsky joining us on Motor Driven to help us wade through the crap that is AARTO. It's a pretty good introduction, eh?
It's a fantastic introduction, because crap is the best way to describe it, and it's also a four-letter acronym. And what does the four-letter acronym of AARTO mean? Administrative Adjudication of Road Traffic Offences. Doesn't that sound impressive to you?
It does sound like a power struggle, and it has been a struggle, because being in the industry, I don't even know where are we in the AARTO demerit point system, because 4 or 5 years ago it was being trialled, it was happening, police were pulling us over, traffic cops saying, oh, that's it, you're losing points. Is it happening? Where are we?
Well, the fact is that the Minister of Transport published regulations for public comment, which is now closed, because the commenting period closed on the 1st of December. And it is now proposed that the points demerit system will come into force on the 1st of July 2021. So D-Day is fast approaching, if this time the wolf can actually be seen at the door.
Okay, now what I want to try and understand, this is the holiday time period, people are going from Gauteng down to the Western Cape. I want to put that in the scope of how AARTO is going to change that. Are the rules and regulations currently, as it is in Johannesburg, to Pretoria, to the Western Cape, East Cape, are they all the same, or do they have a different set of rules currently?
The National Road Traffic Act applies nationally, that's, as the name implies. However, the way that you are prosecuted is different in the Western Cape, and in fact, anywhere outside of Joburg and Tshwane, because that's where the AARTO Act has applied now for the past 12 years, going on 13 years.
So what is AARTO going to change then? Will that make it a central prosecution process? The rules and regulations will be administered nationally?
Centrally. Correct.
Okay. But is that not a good thing?
Well, it actually sounds like it, but there's a few disadvantages to it, insofar as I think that the word administrative is incorrect. It should be the automated advancement of Road Traffic Offences Act, because that's what it is. If you fail to act in terms of the AARTO Act as a person who's been alleged to have committed a road traffic infringement, then you will automatically have demerit points applied to your driving license, and you'll have your driving license card, your vehicle license disc, and your professional driving permit blocked for renewal until such time as you pay Caesar what is due unto Caesar.
Now, what I've noticed, some areas do seem to work better, because I know that that would happen. If you've got outstanding fines, when you go to relicense your vehicle, you won't be able to until you pay that. That sort of process is working.
And you think that's good?
No, I get it, but I mean, there is a point of saying, oh, you've got fines, because a lot of the time, I've never received a fine. I don't know that I've even got it. Now you go on to pay my fine or whatever it might be, and you're surprised by all these things. So there's a lot of confusion around that. What is your perfect way in terms of how this process should be managed, from offence to end user?
Well, quite frankly, I find this idea of blocking your license disc and your driving license renewal as being obscene, to be very honest with you, because if a traffic officer alleges that I've done something, it's for that traffic officer to prove it, not for me to prove I haven't. Okay, but that's my fundamental thinking on this. Unfortunately, the vast majority of traffic fines in this country originate out of speed cameras, and you know, I've often quipped that you can actually drive blind drunk on the wrong side of the road on the pavement,
and you'll be okay.
As long as you do it within the speed limit, you're not going to be taken to task. And unfortunately, that's a sad reality, because for some obscure reason, we are fixated on this idea of speed. Now, let me ask you a very simple question. What do you regard as more dangerous? Driving at 30 kilometers an hour past a school at opening or closing time, or driving at 180 kilometers an hour on a 5-lane freeway with everyone going in the same direction at 4 o'clock on a Sunday morning when the sun has just risen.
Look, you and I can sit and talk about this forever because I've got no issue with speed. And I mean, I take massive offense to this whole idea that speed kills, and they use that as a scapegoat because it's a great money generator. My concern is more about the road safety side of things. I am really worried that with AARTO and the demerit system being put into place, that certain offences are going to be targeted because they're easy. And my concern is that it becomes another opportunity for pie and coke, please sir, because I know when they were trialing it, a lot of cops, I was pulled over 2 or 3 times and they were telling me, you're talking on your phone. This was like 2015 or whatever it might have been, talking on the phone. Oh, that's a fine, and I'm docking you so many points. I'm going, no you can't. Is that the reality?
Look, the reality is that less than 10% of all traffic law enforcement in South Africa is physical. So the chances of being pulled over by a traffic cop is actually quite low, to be very honest with you. But even in those situations, yes, it's going to be a massive incentive for bribery and corruption, because you can imagine now, if you happen to know that you are sitting on 13 demerit points and the tolerance is 15, and you're now going to incur another 5 demerit points. And you know that if you now go to 18 demerit points, your driving license is going to be suspended for 9 months. So you may as well go and make babies, because you're not going to be allowed to drive. But the problem comes with the enforcement of that, because I've just said to you that less than 10% of the enforcement in South Africa is physical. So when last have you presented your driving license to a traffic officer, and that traffic officer has gone and checked it on eNatus to see if it's not suspended? So, you know, how's the points demerit system going to help in South Africa? I believe it's not, to be very honest with you.
We're opening up a can of worms here, because the backbone of AARTO, as I understand it, should be eNatus in terms of the system. Cars. But eNatus is a mess.
Well, eNatus is not so much a mess as traffic cops don't have access to it. Okay. Traffic cops are sent out on patrol or sent out to do their duties without the fundamentals of two-way radios. And they have to use their own personal cell phones. So what makes us think for 2 seconds, for 2 seconds that they're going to be able to check a driving license card that's presented to them to see if it's, number one, a genuine driving license or not, and number two, whether it's been suspended or not. And that's where this system is inherently flawed. Now, anybody who argues that the AARTO Act is there to enhance road safety doesn't know what the meaning of the term road safety is, because the fact is that it is there to drive traffic fine revenues. And let me give you a shocker. Inbuilt into the draft regulations is an altogether new charge code. Okay, 2 of them in fact. Charges 4321 and 4322, which says drove a motor vehicle on an e-road without paying the toll. In other words, ladies and gentlemen and boys and girls, you are going to be forced to pay e-tolls under threat of not being able to renew your vehicle license disc and your driving license card, and at a fine of $500 for each gantry that you travel under. So in other words, on my little trip to your studios today, guess what, sunshine? I have earned myself, because there were 4 gantries in each direction, I have earned myself $4,000 worth of fines if AARTO was enforced today.
It was worth it though.
Absolutely. And you know what? You can withhold my license disc as much as you want, and my driving license card, because I will continue to pay my license fees and just get a receipt without a license disc, and I will continue to drive, because in terms of the National Road Traffic Act, my driving license is valid and for an indefinite period until it is suspended or cancelled. And guess what? In terms of e-toll violations, there are no demerit points applicable. So issue your enforcement order so I can't renew my driving license card or my vehicle license disc. And then, what are you going to do? I'm not going to pay your fine. And you can issue another enforcement order and another one and another one and another one, but I will continue to pay my licensing fees for my vehicle, because not licensing a vehicle is an offense. Okay? And I will not let you suspend my driving license because I actually obey the rules of the road.
You're messing with my head here because you're talking about e-tolls. I thought that was dead and buried.
Well, President Ramaphosa told Minister Veerfokol to come up with a solution and present it to Cabinet by no later than the 31st of August 2019. But here we sit at the end of 2020, no such solution, and there it appears in the draft regulations, hey, we are not scrapping e-tolls, and don't expect the minibus taxi drivers to blockade the freeways and all that. Guess why? Because they are exempt from paying e-tolls. So you're on your own.
So that's
it's
problem
time
solved.
you've got militant Okies. You know what? At the end of the day, they want to force the payment of e-tolls. But this could have a backfire of absolute epic proportion, because there are people, and there are a lot of them, who are going to say, if you're not going to give me my license disc, I'm not going to give you my vehicle licensing fees. And then let's see how happy the local authorities are when they no longer get license taxes from people. And you say it's an offense, you're correct, you can get locked up for it. But our current prison population isn't anywhere near 500,000. There are 2.5 million people who are not paying e-tolls.
Yeah.
Where are you going to build more prisons?
Yeah.
Is that what you're going to do?
I mean, this sounds like what they're trying to do with the SABC at the moment. You know, going to people like Netflix and saying your TV license has to be paid through Netflix and you have to collect it for us.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. It's
No,
mind-blowing.
look, it's just totally ridiculous. And unfortunately, what's happened here is that I have no issue whatsoever with a points demerit system. I think it's a fantastic idea. Quite frankly,
Yeah.
I would like to see a lot of the douchebags that are on our road prohibited from driving. I really would. Okay, but this whole administrative process, you know, it's absolutely ridiculous. Do you know what rigmarole you've got to go through if they misread your number plate in one of these speeding fines? And incidentally, that's another blooming point.
That's,
okay?
you mentioned that to me when we were chatting off air earlier.
Yeah.
So easy with the font.
With that font, you can confuse the letter K and X and Y and V and scores of other letters. Okay, and it happens regularly. I know because I get phone calls from people saying, I've got a red Mini. The vehicle in the photograph is an 18-wheeler white truck.
Yeah.
Okay.
With my plates.
And of course, the incredibly intelligent traffic officer who's capturing this can't tell the difference between a red Mini and a white truck.
Yeah.
But then again, why should we expect him to when he couldn't tell the difference between a 125cc Yamaha motorcycle and a black Audi A3, like happened to me personally?
Seriously.
So I know this is not bull.
Yeah.
Okay, it arrived in the post. Look, I made the representation saying this is not my vehicle.
But what was that process like? Because that, I imagine, is not going to be easy.
Well, it's an administrative process that I believe certain people are going to be able to follow because they've got access to the internet and they might take the initiative to educate themselves. But let me be very frank about South Africans in general. They don't educate themselves.
No.
They get a traffic fine, they look at this and they say, that's not even my blooming vehicle. They
Gooi
chuck it
weg.
in the bin,
Yeah.
okay? And the next thing they do is they go to license their vehicle, and lo and behold, an enforcement order has been issued on that fine that wasn't even for your vehicle. And you've got to say to yourself, or sorry, our authorities are saying to us, this is a just system. And the courts actually say, yes, it's just, it's cool.
Yeah, but you see, it sounds like the perfect storm, because for anything like this to work, you've got to have the admin working efficiently. And
Yes.
I just look at what we went through now with COVID. You know, that process should all be living online at the moment. It should make our life so much easier. There should not be that admin. When I go to the post office to pay a license fee, some take cash, some don't. I mean, you never know what the story is. Now, that is the problem. If that admin side of it isn't going to work, then as beautiful as a demerit system is, it's going to fall flat.
Well, the demerit system is actually not so much the online thing. The administrative system.
But that process.
Okay, that administrative process is online. Okay, I can tell you now it is online. I use it in my capacity as a proxy for a bank. Okay, however, I am not average Joe Soap.
Okay. Yeah, you know, this is your life.
I know this legislation. I know how to act in terms of it. I know not to rely on the South African Post Office. I know not to rely on email because we have junk filters and emails end up in your junk mailbox. Okay, I go and check physically, and I suggest everybody else does that. But here's a ridiculous thing about this. You as a motorist, if you allow a person who's unlicensed to drive your vehicle, you also get arrested. Okay, however, the AARTO Act makes no provision whatsoever for a private individual to check if that person's driving license has been suspended or whether they are properly licensed.
So I'm owning a business, I'll ask you.
No, if you're a business, then you have to get the permission of your employee to go and check. Okay. However, if you're a private individual,
how easy is that process
and you let your friend who came in from overseas drive your motor vehicle, okay, you're screwed. You are screwed. Or even your friend who came in from Palabora or Tabazimbi or wherever this person came from.
And he has a car, use it for the weekend.
Yeah, use my car over the weekend. Hey, you my buddy, my pal. Meanwhile, this oak's got his driving license suspended,
but at the end of the day, it's not,
and you facilitated him driving your motor vehicle. Off to jail, get a criminal record. There you go. And we will not give you any facility to check if that person is actually licensed.
I mean, that's like saying a service plan on a car is linked to the person who owns it and not the car.
Exactly.
You know, at the end of the day,
exactly.
It's your license. And what happens in a rental car? I mean, isn't that the argument then? Because
with rental cars, you have to present your driving license.
Sure, but I mean, but they also can't check then.
They can't check.
So it's no different. So it's no different.
It's no different.
Wow.
And this is the ridiculousness. And quite frankly, I've been told. But you can make a PIA application. Does anybody have any concept of how long it takes to get a result from a PIA application? When I want to lend you my car, when I want to lend you, it's a promotion of Access to Information Act application. The state authorities have 30 days to come back to you. When I want to lend you my car to drive down to the shops,
No,
I don't want to know in 30 days' time if I can do it or not. I want to know now. So, it's all very, very heavily stacked against the motorist. But there's another piece of misinformation that's been doing the rounds, and it's originated from our authorities. And that is that I don't know if you've heard about this zero alcohol limit. Now, Fikile Mbalula has said that this is contained in the AARTO Act. It is not contained in the AARTO Act. It is contained in the National Road Traffic Amendment Bill.
Which hasn't been passed.
Which, thus far, hasn't been passed. However, let's say that it does get passed. That is a criminal offence. You will be prosecuted criminally for it. And it's easy to turn around and say, oh, but I don't drink alcohol, because I don't.
Yeah.
But there are certain people who, for various reasons, may have a health condition that cause a reading of alcohol. This is not going to improve the situation as far as drink driving goes. And let me tell you why. Because the courts will still not convict a person unless the prosecution provides prosecutable forensic evidence that there was alcohol in that person's bloodstream. The reason why convictions fail at the moment is because that evidence is not provided to the courts. It's going to make that difference to it.
But you know the problem for me, Howard, I mean, just to wrap up, because we could do this for days probably, and I think we're going to. My concern is that it's always confusing, because I hear that zero tolerance.
You know
and
what?
our
I
people-
like it.
yeah,
I like it because if you tell a person you can't drink and drive,
Yeah.
it's cool. Rather than telling a person, well, you can drink a bit, or
Yeah.
so long as
So
you
it's-
don't
it's-
overdo it, and as long as you're not completely puchai.
But the confusion is some people think that's been passed. And that's what ends up happening when they get pulled over.
Yep.
The police officer saying, oh, zero tolerance.
Correct.
So some places like Durban is zero tolerance.
No, it can't be. So
But, okay, but
no,
that's
it's
a
not.
but you see the confusion.
You see, the National Road Traffic Act applies nationally,
Yeah.
and people need to understand this. Okay, Durban, KwaZulu-Natal has been talking about zero tolerance now for donkey's decades. Okay, and in those donkey's decades, they have consistently had the highest road death statistics in the country.
Yeah.
So you know what? Zero tolerance doesn't work. What works is creating well-educated, well-skilled drivers behind the wheels of these motor vehicles and making sure that they're sober.
Yeah.
That's it.
Agreed. What I want to do, like I said, we're definitely going to get you back, Howard. I think it'll be great to have you on Motor Driven as a regular feature. I
Great
think any
stuff.
of you that have questions or any info you want around AARTO, we'll make sure Howard's information is available, not his cell phone number, but places
No.
where people can go and access that information, please, if you don't mind.
Sure.